What's going on, guys? This is Mr. Teej 66's Movie Reviews. I am Mr. Teej 66. Since the new Jurassic World film is coming up this weekend, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I figured I would go back in time and do the original one that started it all, 1993's Jurassic Park, directed by the one and only Steven Spielberg. I mean, what can be said about this movie that hasn't been said before? It is a game changer. It is one of the most influential films probably ever made. The CGI technology developed in this movie is still being used to this day, and I remember when I saw this movie for the first time, I knew, we all knew that everyone my age, I was about 11 at the time, and we knew cinema was changed forever. But that doesn't change the fact that this is a damn solid, well-crafted monster movie. Steven Spielberg's direction is impeccable in this movie. If this movie had been directed by anybody else, I guarantee you we would not be talking about it, or it would be just a minor footnote in the history of film. It is a combination of his childlike wonder and also, that, sort of suspense, scary stuff that he really doesn't do that much anymore. The Steven Spielberg of Jaws, which, and I guess Poltergeist, clearly, it really doesn't exist anymore. Scares in this movie are, spot on. I mean, do I really need to tell you that? Not really, and I won't spoil it, but there are a couple that still, even to this day, even I know they're coming, they get me. The CGI in this movie, which is, of course, the big selling point and the thing everyone remembers the most about this movie, has held up fairly well. It's still a fairly decent looking. It's not as slick as a lot of the CGI made today, but it's used more sparingly. I think that's the thing I like the most about this movie. It's used sparingly. It's not overused. When a lot of the film is, still old school practical effects done by the late great Stan Winston. The T-Rex attack sequence is still probably the highlight of this movie. You'll notice I haven't really gone over the plot because really everyone knows the plot of Jurassic Park at this point. An old billionaire finances research which brings back dinosaurs, and they find little. I guess the plot is a little contrived in that they find mosquitoes which are preserved in amber that bit a dinosaur. I mean, what are the chances that you're really going to find something like that? Like 1 in a million, and even then, you're only going to find one. And apparently, they found like hundreds of them. That's a little contrived, a little hard to swallow. But I go with it. But it's at least a fairly plausible idea. I'm not a science buff, so I don't know how realistic it really is. But I go along with it for the most part. The casting in this movie is solid. The two standouts, no question, are Jeff Goldblum and Sir Richard Attenborough. Jeff Goldblum is, Jeff Goldblum, chaos theory, yeah. He takes this cliche part and just makes it his own. He's hysterical every time he's on screen. Probably the only bad thing about it is that he's taken out fairly quickly, during the great T-Rex attack. He's injured and then he spends the rest of the movie, sort of just, incapacitated. I mean, he still has funny things to do, but it's a little bit of a flaw. I really wish he had been more involved in the third act, because I think he would have been even great, but instead of just, spending time, sprawled out, injured. And Sir Richard Attenborough is the other great performance of this movie. His heart and soul is just, it is wonderful. There, he has the look of a child, even in his mannerisms, just such a lovable character. Rest in peace. I'm so sorry he's gone. There's a scene toward the end of this movie where, they have to leave, and he knows that, it's over. There's a wonderful shot where he looks back before they get in the helicopter. He looks back, and just, he knows his dream is over. It breaks my heart every single time I see it, and then the following shot where he's looking at his little, mosquito in his little cane, encased in amber, and John Williams' beautiful music kicks in. It's such a heartbreaking scene, and it just gets me every time. Speaking of John Williams, still one of his best scores. I mean, the man's done so many scores, great scores. I can name them all off for hours. But that spirit of adventure that this movie has. Dun 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 dun. I mean, that's the crappy version of it, but and the suspense, the music he generates, it is beautiful. There's just so many great sequences of just pure suspense. I mean, the scene with the raptors, chasing the kids through the kitchen, just nail-biting stuff, and he throws in this little bits of humor here and there, which I love, like where the raptor, is going for, the one little girl and then smacks into a countertop, and because it just saw the reflection. It's beautiful stuff. As for flaws, the only big flaw I have with this movie is probably the kids. They're incredibly irritating, and Spielberg usually does really well with children, but I just found them annoying. And even at the time I saw this movie, and I was probably about the same age as those kids, I just found them irritating, and just they're too much of movie kids. Their acting is over the top, and they just grate on my nerves. Every time I watch it. And the whole subplot with Alan Grant learning to love kids and everything. I remember at the time I was like, when I was a kid watching this movie, I'm like, I don't care. It's not interesting. And 25 years later, as a 36-year-old, I'm going, I don't care. That's not interesting. They're annoying. The only reason I don't want them to die is because they're kids, and I'm not like a cruel-hearted bastard. But so that's my biggest flaw with this movie. The other cast members are okay, but they're not really very well fleshed out. Sam Neill is okay. Laura Dern, they're all okay, but they're not really very compelling characters. They're serviceable, but really nothing special. But, the dinosaurs are the stars of this movie, absolutely. Wayne Knight as the computer hacker, he does have one of my favorite quotes, and everyone who knows this movie knows it. You didn't say the magic word. I love that part. I want that on my computer. Like, if I ever have a password system, or if I ever get a computer again and I have a password system, that's going on there immediately. What else can I say? The dinosaur attacks are first rate. The T-Rex is still one of the great movie characters of all time. I mean, spoiler warning, at the end, when he saves their asses from the Velociraptors, it's just a cheer-worthy moment, man. Beautiful stuff. Overall, I would give this movie probably an 8.7. It holds up really well. Spielberg's direction is solid. The cast is okay, but the dinosaurs are obviously the big sell here. If you haven't seen Jurassic Park, what the hell are you waiting for? Go watch it. The sequels have their moments here and there, but the original, as it will always be, the original film is the best. If you only watch one Jurassic Park movie, obviously the original. 8.7 out of 10. Watch this movie if you haven't. This is Mr. T66, and I will see you next time.